Whoa. Wow. Man, we are tiny.
We must be doing our top 10 small games.
That makes sense. This is our top 10 small games.
Yeah, let's get to it.
Now, tiny, of course, is a subjective term, but these are all games that we consider to be on the fairly small side, but they pack a punch.
They pack a punch. And one thing we'll talk about, one thing that's not on our list, we'll give it a little bit of honorable mention right now, is all the tiny epic games. And the reason why we didn't choose that, even though tiny's in the title.
You can make your own list of them.
You really could make your own list. On top of that, some of them actually aren't that small. Like Tiny Epic Quest and some of the other ones have like a really big footprint. So we're, you know what? We're gonna be rebels, and we're not gonna put them on the list.
Right, but Tiny Epic, take your pick of theme, is probably a good
idea. We like
idea.
dinosaurs the most. Yeah,
yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, but nonetheless, let's get into our top 10 small games.
So our number 10 is Tussie, Mussie, truly a microscopic game of just a handful of cards with beautiful art by Best Sobel depicting wonderful flowers. And Tussie Mussie means when you give flowers and specific flowers to say specific things, like maybe I love you, or we're just gonna be friends and it's okay. So this is kind of a set collection game where you're gonna be offering up one card face up, one card face down to somebody, and they're gonna choose, do I want the face up card so I know what I'm getting, or are you trying to deke me and hide something that's really good face down, and you can choose what to take, and they're gonna be putting those cards face up and face down into a little tableau for yourself that are all gonna score based off of different kind of set collection elements. Some of the little flowers have hearts on them, which are worth points. Some are conditional, that they are only worth points if they're next to this thing, or if there's this many of this type of flower. So this is kind of set collection game, but it really comes down to, trying to mess with my head with these flowers right here? You trying to be genuine? You trying to be sweet? You trying to undermine me? What's going on with these flower offerings? And it's a really fun game that is just the tiniest little package from Button Shy. Tussie Mussie's our number 10.
Our number 9 is a small little Oink game called Deep Sea Adventure. A little spoiler alert, I've never actually won this game because this is a push your luck game, and I really like pushing my luck, and I almost always lose when I do it. But nonetheless, this is a great game where you are diving down a row of treasure, essentially trying to grab the most valuable stuff. The stuff is more valuable at the bottom, hence why I always lose, because you don't have that much air. And the more stuff you grab, the more air you start burning, because you're just like trudging, and it just kills more and more of the air. And then basically, if you do die, you can actually drop stuff at the bottom there, and then you go to another round. So now the bottom is even more valuable, but it is a little bit shorter of a way to get there. But this is a great, tiny little game that is so much fun, because that's something that everyone can relate to. No whammies, no whammies, no whammies. Stop. Pushing your luck is something that a lot of people really, really love, and it's a great, great time. And Deep Sea Adventure is one of the best at it.
Some games are small enough to fit in the palm of your hand, and this game stays in the palm of your hand because it's Palm Island, a game that was designed to be played literally anywhere, including standing up in line places. This is a game where you can hold these different cards in your hand. Some cards are going to provide you resources like fish, stone, and wood. Other cards are going to be things that you're hoping to build, like temples and such, by using those different resources. And it has this cool system where as you hold cards, if they're sticking out to the side, that's some resource that you've banked, and then you can flip those 90 degrees to have spent them and take cards, flip them, rotate them, and do a bunch of different things to basically upgrade those cards. And you're gonna go through 8 rounds, and the more you can kind of upgrade all of your cards, the more valuable they become. And after 8 rounds, you simply compare, if you're playing competitively, who did the best with the same set of cards in the same exact order to start the game, and you're trying to work out those upgrades. But this game is really cool because you can actually play solo, you can play cooperatively with this mini campaign, and they're all games that still stay in your hands. You can literally walk and talk and play at the same time. So it's just straight up unique and also quite small. That's why it's a number 8.
Our number 7 is a little game called Illusion.
This is the magic trick, huh?
Illusion, Michael.
Illusion is a game, kind of like a game called Timeline, which is another really great small game, where you're putting cards in a row down on the table, and you have to put cards in the right spot in the row. how you do that is there's always going to be a color like green, blue, or red or something like that that you're essentially trying to go for. And on the cards, all the different cards, there are a bunch of different weird shapes and letters and all this different stuff and all different colors on it. And basically, if you're going for red, you have to figure out on this card, how much red is on this card? And then where would it go in this line? Would it go, does it have more or less red than like this card and this card? You have to figure out where you try and put it. And then if someone thinks you're wrong, like you put it in the wrong spot, they can challenge, and you start flipping over the cards, and on the back of the cards, it tells you what percentage each color has on the card, and you can basically figure out if the timeline, if the illusion is correct. But it gets really, really hard because the shapes are all intertwined and on top of each other, and it gets, your mind starts like completing pictures that aren't actually there, and it's actually much, much more difficult than you would think, and it's really, really fun. And it's it's little tiny, fits in your pocket, it's wonderful. Illusion is great.
There's nothing better than a game where you get to lie to people about skeletons that you have in your closet. And that's what you're doing in Skull. It's kind of like a take on Liar's Dice, using these sweet coasters with beautiful art, modeled kind of after Dia de los Muertos. And you are going to be trying to say, I bet you I can turn over a certain number of coasters before I reveal a skull, because most of the coasters have flowers on them. So you have to kind of up the bid, or you have to challenge and start flipping things over to see if you can successfully flip over enough coasters before you reveal a skull, which then loses you life and eventually knocks you out of the game. So this is something that has a very familiar structure in that kind of Liar's Dice, where you're trying to outbid each other and challenge people, maybe goad people into bidding too high so that you can catch them looking. But it comes in a beautiful, wonderful package that you can kind of play anywhere, because it's sort of like setting out a few coasters on a table, and it's fantastic. That's why Skull is on our small games list.
Our number 5 is a game called Tides of Madness. Now, this is a sequel to the game called Tides of Time, and ultimately they're basically the same game. With Tides of Madness has a little bit more going on, which is why we like it more, but they're both small micro games with really pretty art. In this game, you're trying to draft cards to score points like you generally do. On each card, there'll be a scoring condition. Like if you grab a blue and a green symbol, you'll score like 5 points or something like that. And so you're essentially trying to draft the cards and score as many points as possible. But some of the cards, some of the better cards, have madness on them. And if you get too much madness, you automatically lose. So it's a really great drafting game where you have multiple roads to victories, because if your opponent is really just kicking your butt in terms of points, you can start just trying to throw madness at them. It's basically just trying to throw off, give them madness, and win that way. And that little bit of tension is really nice. But ultimately, it's a 2-player drafting game, very small and very portable, and it's just really fun. But the Tides of Madness part, the part where you can win that way, is what makes it different from the original, and that really makes the game better. And so we would suggest getting that one. Tides of Madness is great.
Number 4 is from a series of fresh games. It's Mint Delivery, and you could really choose any of the Mint games because their whole gimmick is that it fits into a little mint tin that you can literally put in your pocket and take with you anywhere you go. And they provide different styles of games. Mint Delivery is a pick up and deliver game where you are picking up different types of mints. You have regular, you have sugar-free, and cinnamon mints, which are like the fancy mints. Even though I don't really know anyone who really loves the cinnamon mints, you figure the basic would be best. But in this case, you are taking them to different towns that need different types of mints, and you can deliver those mints to basically fulfill contracts and time out the game and hopefully win. So it's really cool to have a very simple pick up and deliver game that goes on this little tableau of 9 cards. It creates all of your little routes you can go to. There's a bit of trading resources around, and it just leans into that gimmick of everything being a mint. The only real downside of this game is you might accidentally eat some of your pieces, and they are made of wood, so they don't taste particularly minty.
Our number 3 is a Phil Walker Harding game. We love Phil Walker Harding. This is Silver and Gold. This is actually a little bit of it's a flip and fill roll and write game where you're actually writing directly on the cards. All the cards are kind of a dry erase little cards, and it's really cool. Now, we will say that basically almost all roll and writes can fit into this category. Roll and writes tend to be relatively small, relatively quick. You can usually play a lot of people, so honestly, pick your favorite roll and write. You can probably put it in this list. We chose silver and gold because we really, really like it, and it actually is quite small, even compared to a lot of roll and writes. But this is a game essentially where you'll be flipping over cards, and those cards will have some kind of shape on it, usually some kind of Tetris shape, and then you'll have 2 cards in front of you, and you'll be just marking off spots on that card, trying to fill up the weird shapes on there. Once you fill one up, you put that card to the side, you grab a new one, and you just continue filling it up that way. And you're basically trying to fill as many cards as you possibly can. So it's just a little spatial puzzle, polyomino kind of thing that a lot of people really like. We really like those kinds of games, just chill kind of spatial puzzles. And this one's great, but it's really, really small. And on top of that, you don't have a ton of sheets. You don't have to laminate a whole bunch of stuff because you're always writing directly on the cards, and then you just wipe them off and erase them. So it's really, really nice because you can bring it on like an airplane and just play, wipe it off, play again, and just kind of keep going. It's really, really great. Silver Gold is our number 3.
So our number 2 is Hanamikoji. This is a tiny game that has a ton of depth and strategy. It's a 2-player in-your-face tactical game where you're going to be taking these different 4 actions to basically make use of cards, and you hope to put down cards in front of you because there are different geisha that you are hoping to basically entice to come perform at your restaurant. And if you can get a majority of the geisha to come to your restaurant to perform, you win. Your opponent can also win if they take the most valuable geisha, and they can get to a victory that way. So it's this tactical thing where we each have the same 4 actions we can do. There's a bit of deduction trying to figure out, what does my opponent have? What cards do they have? And there are some I split, you choose mechanics, which are really tough because every time I want to put these cards down into my tableau, I have to offer some amount of them to my opponent first. So I have to try to present this package in such a way that they take exactly what I want them to take so I can keep what I actually need. And that game just creates so much tough strategy while being incredibly simple with those 4 actions you do. And that's why it's our number 2, because it fits in your pocket, but it packs a punch.
Our number 1 is a Reiner Knizia classic that just makes us giggle all the time, and that is High Society. This is a small auction game. This is a game where you're trying to live a fancy life, super, super fancy. You're trying to get perfume, you're trying to get some horses, you're wearing big hats, all that kind of stuff. But essentially, it's just an auction game, a bidding game. You will have some kind of point scoring card out there, again, like perfume or something like that. And then everyone has a certain amount of francs in their hand, and they can essentially bid. And you'll go around and you'll bid until someone wins. Everyone passes, like, okay, now I scored this. And you just keep going around and around and around, but everyone has the same amount of money. And once you spend some money, that money then goes away. So you do have to manage your money a little bit, but where this game really shines is you can't spend too much money, because if you, at the end of the game, spent more money than anyone else, you automatically lose. There's no way to come back from it. If you spent more money, boom, you're done. So even if you have 3 times as many points as everyone else, if you spent the most money, you're done and you're gone. And that just adds that little bit of extra layer to it that makes it so much fun. And we always just start talking in silly voices like, oh yes, gonna get some perfume today. And it's just, it makes us laugh and we just love it. And it's small, we always play it, we always bring it. If we're like, oh, we should bring a game, well, let's grab High Society. That's a great, easy little game. We can fit it in a pocket. It's wonderful. We love High Society. It's great. And that's why it's our number 1.
So that was our top 10 small, tiny, micro, whatever you want to call them, games that can just
the
fit in
actual
your pocket.
definition of micro? It's like 18 cards?
I think something like that.
Right?
Something like that's a micro game. But these are all games that we consider to be on the smaller side, but still provide a lot of fun. Let us know what your favorite small, tiny, micro games are in the comments below.
Yeah.
And until next time, I've been Mike.
I'm Nick.
We're the Brothers Murph, and we'll see you in the next top 10.